Roll call.
Vice Chair Erickson,
Here.
Commissioner Bory,
Here.
Commissioner Kiner,
Here.
Commissioner Kinner, I'm sorry, Chair Mitchell,
Present.
Commissioner Brennan.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Says before we move on to consent agenda, we're removing item 22-059 as it's a duplicate discussion. I don't really know if I know what that is. With the consent agenda, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the Health and Human Services Commission accept the agenda as amended and approve the minutes from the December 27th, 2021 regular meeting. Oops. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry.
Do we have a second?
I second the amendment to
No.
approve the minutes.
Roll call.
Vice Chair Erickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bory,
Yes.
Chair Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Brennan,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinner.
Yes.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so on to item number F, which is public hearing. I didn't think we have any. Then we will move on to item number G on the agenda, which is old business. This is 22-051, update on Health and Human Services Commission request for financial assistance scoring rubric.
At your last meeting, we talked about page 1, which is used for in-house staff. It's a way that we can get through the applications and check off whether they answered the questions adequately or if we need to email them with more requests for detail. So the first page is just for staff, and then the scoring rubric kind of follows the application process. So did they provide enough information on the residents that were served, either by verifying address or which to some of the nonprofits, they cannot give us the addresses. Problem statement review, did they adequately identify the problem, identify any gaps in the community, and document the problem? So these all had points based on them, and you asked us to round this up to 100 points total with a qualitative scores. The qualitative would be determined on each individual application because how they qualify or how we quantify what their services or programs are would be dependent on that nonprofit. So the qualitative score would add up to 15, but we don't know what that's going to be until we look at their application. So staff would fill that part in for you. Or you actually could fill that in as you look through the applications, because you're the one scoring this. So if that is satisfactory, just let us know, or if you want something different, please let us know.
I like it. Job well done.
Okay,
Yeah.
You know,
good, everyone good? Okay,
mostly, the only concern I have is that demonstration of successful projects, this sort of inherently has a bias in the sense that you previously had to have projects. What happens to someone who's coming in and they have a group and they're advocating for doing something, but they haven't done anything before? How do they ever, it reminds me of being told, well, you have to have experience to have this job. And I said, well, I'd really like to get the experience, but I need the job to get it.
so the city has been pretty lenient on this because part of providing them with funding is that they are supposed to come up with another service or find another gap that needs to be fulfilled rather than being a perpetual funding resource for the same thing over and over again.
Right.
So it was also meant to help out new nonprofits that came into town. And so you are correct. There may not be anything to judge or to determine, is this a need for the community? How well is it going to go? It's up to the commission that if this provides the services that the council and the code says that you are looking for, you can fund them.
Okay.
And the biggest thing is there's an ordinance that basically says, though, that they have to provide an audited report of their funding. So they may just be able to say, we're getting funding from this organization, this organization, this organization. These are our goals, these are our objectives, and this is the program that we want to initiate this year.
Okay.
And that's really what's supposed to come from some of these other nonprofits. They're like the food bank. They always provide food and they buy food and distribute food, but they actually came up with another program in, I think, 2020. And so if they can initiate a new program, that is what this commission is looking for as well. So we do have that.
Oh, good, thanks.
Any other discussion?
Anything else on the scoring rubric?
I really like it.
Okay,
It'll fill our needs.
Yeah, this is good.
okay.
Well, moving swiftly along then. 22060, discussion and consideration of assessing community needs through a survey.
So this was something that the commission has discussed a lot of. We understand that you want to do a community needs assessment. How you go about that would be for the commission to decide who you want to appoint to attend certain things. At this point, I would like to let you know that I believe there will be an agenda item on the city council for that discussion that was held back in May and June about the goals, the purpose, the direction that council would like to see Health and Human Services move towards. And I don't know how much that will impact your community needs assessment. I don't see that impacting it too much because your ideas are fantastic as far as where you were headed. So if you want to continue with that discussion, feel free to have that this evening. And then we can also review the funding timeline.
When's the council?
February 1.
February 1.
I believe we're going to do either February 1 or February 2. And you would see an email from me inviting you to attend that meeting so that you can hear the comments from council directly. When we think about this, they may call upon you for questions and insight as well. And I'll just post a possible quorum of the commission to attend that meeting. So anyway, that would be February 1, February 2. I won't know that until later this week when it's firmed up by the city manager's office. But if you still would like to talk about assessing community needs or just hit a bullet list where your thoughts and ideas are, we'll just make notes on that.
Well, I did a little bit of research online and was looking at, I always hate to reinvent the wheel. If there's something already out there, let's see if we can gather the information from what's already out there. And our city is doing a survey, a community-wide survey this coming month. And it actually addresses a lot broader area, but it does get at the well-being of our community. And I think that's what we're all about, is how do we keep our residents healthy and their living situations affect their well-being. Mm-hmm. So I would like to suggest that we take a look at that. The results of that survey will be available to the community, I believe, early April. And so it's not a long time from now. And they are looking to have about 2,700 surveys distributed within the community, and they also are opening it up to the community itself. I would recommend that community members really, if they get something in the mail, to really go ahead and take the 15 minutes to fill that survey out and give the feedback to our community planners so that they can actually create the best living situation for our residents. There are other resources also available. There's I don't know, I think I handed it down the line. There's a Arizona Health survey, or that actually collects data on the different counties within Arizona. And within that is Pinell County 2020, this is a couple years old, but that's done every few years. It's a community health needs assessment, a county-wide needs assessment, and a county-wide community health improvement plan. And we can draw some information on our community itself because it ranks some of the cities within the county as far as the different areas of health and well-being. So I think we may need to take a look at what is available, you know, and look at what our nation on a national level has been addressing as far as Healthy People 2030, which I think, you know, means that each of us have a little bit of reading to do, and we could send that information to you and you could distribute it. A lot of it is online and available. If we're looking for a very quick survey for the city itself, again, there are sample examples out there. There's one that was done for San Antonio, Texas, and it's a very simple community health survey that has only, you know, 10, 15 questions on it, very quick. So that's just some ideas. Or we could just talk to people at health fairs and at community events and find out what their feelings are as far as the health and well-being needs and priorities.
It's a lot of good information. I think I like what Jennifer's saying about trying to figure out what the council's direction to us is. Might be the next step. After that, then maybe figure out if we're going to analyze the data that's already been collected before we devise our own. Would that make sense? Because that's what I'm thinking as we go through all these different ideas.
Yeah, right. I think that Mary's correct. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if they cover the areas that we're going to have interest in, why not take advantage of their survey and use the data?
Do you know if there's a similarity between the city survey and this one?
I haven't had time to really do the analysis, but that's just a very quick sample of what is available. So I think it certainly pays for us all to kind of do our research and then find out what the city council really, you know, is thinking and go from there.
Do we want to pass this on to the city council?
So the information that you have, I'm not sure what you are looking at. So if we can get a copy of what you have, and then depending on the direction that council would like to go, or if they would like you to do a community survey in certain areas, so like of homelessness, or I think you pointed out there used to be, and it was, I think Heather Patella mentioned it years ago, and it was that senior, if you lose your partner, finding a roommate, and I can't remember what that was called, but we talked about that a couple of years ago.
Shared housing.
Shared housing.
And I brought that up several years ago. One of the agencies was going to address it, and actually another community within the Phoenix area got a grant to address it, but I don't know if it's this far out. What the idea is to, you know, so many of our widows end up in their housing, and they may still have to pay rent. And without their husband's income, they may lose their housing, and they may be in their 80s. Another woman over here is without housing and could potentially help pay the rent. That little bit that would be needed for both of them to have housing security. But it takes multiple possibly multiple agencies, at least one that is able to look at the financial status of the two women and maybe give them some training on how do you be a good roommate, and help them to set down the parameters for being roommates. And I think that would really solve some very serious issues that I have personally seen with our elderly, particularly, and it could be men or women, our elderly in the community who are at risk of losing their housing.
And I think that is an excellent topic to bring up to council, because that might be one of the objectives of one of the nonprofits, is that you would say that you would like to see them address this issue. And make that one of their priorities. Not that we could micromanage or ask the nonprofit, we'd like you to do this, but you could at least say, we'd like to, am I not recording? Wonderful. Excuse me. We can at least provide them with the direction that we'd like to see them go. And then it would be up to them if they want to initiate a program as such, because we don't have the staff, you don't have the time, and that is a very skilled asset. So you would want somebody that has the knowledge and know-how and resources to at least help one of the nonprofits go down that direction. And our community has a significant number of seniors that are probably in that boat. So it would be an excellent topic for here. But if you could provide me with the documents that you have tonight, and like I said, I will let you know when if that item is on that council agenda, and then have you come and, because the last that I recall listening today to all of the meetings was that council wanted to discuss this at a work session first. And then they may move to a joint meeting, but that's council's policy issue, not mine to set. If they talk it out and decide that they do want a joint meeting, that's up to them. If they talk it out and then give direction to staff or to HHSC, then we have direction. But I think, yeah, listening to hear from them first is excellent.
This would meet not only financial needs, but as well accommodate all sorts of individual deficiencies. If someone lost their license because they're visually or otherwise impaired, and the other person has a driving license, they can accommodate appointments for medical follow-up and what have you. But the other underlying issue is that we know that in isolation, people deteriorate rapidly, both emotionally and physically, and dementia is a bigger issue then.
That's a tremendous idea. I don't think I've heard of that before, but as a caregiver for my mom, I can tell you, my wife and I have to work constantly to take care of her. She couldn't be on her own, so I'm sure there's other people out there who might need to, just be present for that person if they fall or if something happens, the safety issues, all that stuff. So many different boxes are checked by that. That's pretty awesome.
And I think when you look at the 2021 survey that the city did and the 2022 survey, you might find some gaps that council mentioned that was not addressed in the survey, and then that's what you can base your survey questions off of as well. Mental health is a big one, like you said. Mental health is a big one. And when this originally started off, it was very, very different, and the city initiated the food bank because we needed it out here. We helped them build the building, I believe. Barb, I don't know if you recall, but I think the city funded building the building or put a significant chunk of change in helping them build the building. So the goals kind of have changed, but are still similar. The needs are still similar. So if you'll give me the survey stuff that you did have, Mary, I'll make sure to give everybody copies.
Okay.
And moving to item 22-061, review of funding application timeline.
Okay, so I know that in 2020 and 2021, when we were dealing with COVID, our process kind of got off schedule, and how we did things to accommodate the nonprofits, because they were not in the office working, everybody was still at home. except us here at AJ. You know, we were here at City Hall, we were working daily hours, and we were trying Zoom and Teams meeting, and we sent out the questions that you may have had, trying to just work with our nonprofits, because some of them, and several, didn't want to appear in person. They just did not want to be in a group of people at all. So we have a timeline and we have a process, and I just kind of wanted to go over that. In November and December, we did do our social media campaign, announcing that applications were available for the nonprofit funding. That closes, so a few things that will have to change just a bit, but usually it was like the last working day in January. I'd like to make that January 31st by 6 p.m., or by midnight, sorry. So if the applicants are still working on their application, they can turn it in as long as I get it by midnight on January 31st. I am happy to print their applications and provide them to you that way. At this point, I don't think we've had anybody apply, but that's kind of normal. They all wait to the last minute anyway. I just feel that this year is going to be strangely odd. I don't know why. February, that is when you will review and score the applications. In March, the goal is to have the commission interview the applicants in person. If they can't make it in person, we will offer Zoom. That way you can ask all your questions and they'll be here to answer them for you. April, the commission makes the initial funding recommendations for award at your commission meeting. And then May, you would present those findings and recommendations to the council at a work session. And then June is when council adopts the budget. And so the funding is always contingent upon the budget. And I know last year there was extreme concern over the tax that was going to be added through the legislature. So we were going to be short in state shared revenue. I need to get an update on the status of that and where we think our budget is going to fall. But again, and then quarterly reports, we did talk about that to some degree. Quarterly reports are usually due, but the city code says 10 days after the end of the quarter. So I do want to change that just to make it even the 15th day of every month of the month of the next quarter. So the first quarter reports would be due October 15th. Second quarter would be January 15, third quarter would be April 15, and fourth quarter July 15. That way you're not sitting there having to count how many days past the quarter. Oh, that one falls on the 7th, that one falls on the 12th, this one falls on the 8th. This way it's all consistent. So my goal is to have some consistency. In 2018, before I arrived, the city attorney and the city clerk completely tore apart and redid the contract for the nonprofits. So it was just recently redone, rehashed, went through several revisions, and so that is a fairly new agreement with our nonprofits. In 2019, when I got here, there was no scoring rubric, there was no qualitative or quantitative means to say, Health and Horizon, you're going to get this amount, Chamber, you're going to get this amount, and I knew that there needed to be some justification as to how you decided what you're going to fund them, and does the program meet the community needs. So Heather Patel, who did CDBG stuff, she was able to come together with the new application, the scoring rubric, the quarterly report documents, and so that is all new, and council is unaware of that. So that all goes through the timeline, and that's where we're at. I just November, December, we've had social media campaigns. We do not reach out to the nonprofits because there are so many, and I don't want to look like there's a bias that we reached out to this one and we didn't reach this one, because then we're journaling all of our call logs, all of our emails, and we just don't have staff time to do all that. And I don't need a nonprofit saying, well, you never reached us, you never contacted us. So it is not something new for them. They are aware that January 31st is the deadline. Just waiting to hear from them.
Week from today.
That's all I have on the timeline.
If I can talk about the quarterly reports.
Yes.
I recall some of the agencies having a very difficult time getting their quarterly reports in because they would miscount, they would not get it in. This looks like it would be much easier for them to be able to consistently know. So thank you for that.
Know the date.
I think
Yeah.
it will help them.
Yeah, I just have to change our city code, or it's in the contract. I can't recall offhand, but it's the 10th day after the quarter ends, and it might be in the contract. So that's going to change. Like
And
you said,
that-
consistency.
that
January
works.
31 is a hard deadline. The 15th of the month following your quarter, that's not too hard to recall. You're correct. They would miss it. We've been very lenient. It says if they miss it, they miss it. They have to wait till the next quarter. We've been pretty lenient with that. If we have questions, we reach out to them and say, hey, you need to explain this program a little bit better. We need more defined information from this. We need to see the receipts from this. We need to verify with MGC that you did hold classes up there, how many attendees were there. So on the back end, we do a lot of verification and we audit these. It's all the behind the work that you guys never see or council never sees. But we audit them very closely, and we do ask for them to provide more information when we need it. And if they're a little late, we still take it in, we look over it. We don't withhold funding. We know how important their service is to the community and how important the funding is to them. So we're pretty lenient on that.
And that contract, will we get to see that final contract?
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
The application that they have to fill out.
You'll see the application. I'm happy to share the contracts with you. Contracts, usually what we do is we take out from their application what services and what programs they said they were going to do, and we actually put that into the contract rather than say, see Exhibit A, because it's right there in the contract, and then council gets the contracts for approval. So, but I'm happy to share the contract and show you what that looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the only thing that's different with that, is you'll see with the general contract, and then it'll say scope of services, and we put it right in, I think it's on page 2 or page 3, rather than say, see attachment A, because that way we pull the contract, and we're able to go right through everything that they said they did, rather than pulling their application. So we transfer the information from the application to the contract.
Okay, so I think we'll move on to new business. Item 22-062 is the discussion of possible joint meeting with City Council on February 28, 2022.
Yeah, so this was kind of a discussion Chairman Mitchell and I had, and Councilmember Biggs and I had. But after reviewing the council meetings, council's direction more was that they wanted a work study session amongst themselves to look at everything on the Health and Human Services side, review the code, and see if there were more, let me read them, to set solid priorities, accountability, set expectations, set the goals. Now, of Health and Human Services, attainable outcomes from the nonprofits, and possibly define what the funding is to be used for. Because it used to be extremely strict that council, and it has always been the commission and the city council's desire that the funds come back into the community and help the community. That it's not for rent, it's not for lighting. The staff position is something, if you don't have the staff person to do the programs, then you can't do the programs. So while it's not meant to be a salary per se, it is a salary for someone to be there to run the programs, which usually they touch many different programs, but it's not a full salary, and it is given with the understanding that this is not meant to be a perpetual source for your salary, for your budget. Council had other discussion as well, and that was maybe, your nonprofit applies maybe 2 or 3 after the 3rd year of receiving funding, then they bow out for 1 to 2 years. So that's a discussion that council will have, and we will learn a lot from that. But the idea is that you have 2 of where you want to go and the survey that you want to do and the list of community needs that are on your mind. I think you should present to council as well. I know Councilmember Braden Biggs mentioned that he watches these, but I think, council has an extremely very busy schedule, and for you to present your ideas to them as well would be a great opportunity. So I don't know if we're going to have this joint meeting on the 28th, so we can make a motion to continue this item to the 28th, which means it'll go back on the agenda. If I get direction that we hold a joint, we may have a joint. If I get direction that they're going to do it in March, or they do or don't want to do it at the February 28th meeting, we'll bring it back and we'll have a decision hopefully by then.
And that'll be at a work study?
So yes, February 1 and 2, we're setting the agendas, and I'm waiting to see where they set that discussion. It'll be a direction to staff, or it'll be a work study session item that they are going to discuss. I'm not sure which yet.
I think that's the way to handle it then. Just
Okay.
table it until we know.
I'd like a motion to continue. Table is a way to kill an item off. Motion will bring it back. So you set with a date, time certain, so we can make a motion to continue it until the July 28th Health and Human Services Commission
February.
meeting. February 28th. Yes.
I move that we set item number 22062 as a continuation for discussion on a possible joint meeting to the February 28th, 2022 Health and Human Services Commission meeting.
I second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like a roll call, Chair Mitchell?
Yeah, roll call, sorry.
Commissioner Kinner?
Excuse me, yes.
Vice Chair Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bory?
Yes.
Chair Mitchell?
Yes,
Commissioner Brennan?
Yes.
So move, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Moving on to item H, information reports 22-049, announcement of community events.
This is the Genesis project, has an open Sunday on January 30th at the Rhino Recreation Center. Lunch is being provided and served by Rhino Recreation from 12 to 2 p.m. at the Genesis project, which is located at 564 North Idaho Road, Suite 105 in Apache Junction. And you know more about the rodeo, is it? And getting the funding for it? For the tickets?
The chamber is selling rodeo tickets, and you can pick them up at the chamber. It's $13 for adults, and it'll be $15 at the gate. Or it's $8 for kids, or $10 at the gate for kids. There's a brat party, free entertainment, and of course, the Tough Enough to Wear Pink on Friday. So hopefully everybody will show up in their pink shirts, pink bandanas, whatever you have that's pink. And then the rodeo dance on Friday night, 2:25, and Canyon State Band will be doing that. The Lost Dutchman Days Parade will be on Saturday, February 24th at 9 a.m. And there's a carnival, and Chamber will also be selling carnival tickets. We do not have them yet, so just keep checking at the Chamber. And Lost Dutchman Day Committee in the AJ Mounted Rangers and Superstition Mountain Promotional Corps, or it's presented by. And I think that's it, and you can pick up flyers at the Chamber, and any of the rodeo committee also will have some flyers to give out.
That should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, it sounds like a great weekend.
Anybody else have any announcements? I have a couple. So the Lost Dutchman Marathon is the 20th of February. I believe 7:45 is the actual time that the event starts. I just know that we as in the Rotary Club will be doing the aid station, so serving water to the different runners and so on. Stand Up AJ, which is a nonprofit devoted to drug awareness and helping our children make better choices. They are having a regular meeting on Wednesday, January 26th at 3 p.m. at the Multi-Generation Center, if anybody wants to attend that. The Rotary Club of Superstition Mountains invites you to the regular meeting scheduled on Wednesday at noon at the Gold Canyon Golf Club. And there is a focal point and tourism group meeting on Tuesday, February 8th at the Chamber of Commerce at 10:30 a.m. The Pinal County Partnership, the point-in-time count for the homeless, that was rescheduled due to the increasing numbers of COVID-19. I am the team captain for Apache Junction along with Trinity Cole from Genesis Project. So the new dates for that will be February 23rd through 28th. And if you want information about it, you can always put down my email, jmitchellrecr@gmail. And that's it for what I have for announcements. Oh, Judy?
Yeah, I've got a few more, and January 29th, 2022 at 7 a.m., Lost Dutchman Days Charity Golf Tournament, and that is Hucks Russell. I think that golf tournament's in honor of Hucks Russell. Then, of course, the Renaissance Festival starts up February 5th through April 3rd. February 12th is a Movies in the Park at Flatiron Community Park. And then March, all the way into March, we've got Blues and Brews at the Flatiron Community Park. And we have tickets also again at the Chamber, so you can pick those tickets up. March 12th, Antique Tractor Show. So anybody that loves tractors and tractor pulls and food and all kinds of stuff happening out there and that's at the rodeo grounds. And March 19th, Movies in the Park, and that's again at Flatiron Community Park. So I think that about covers it.
Encourage this is a way to encourage families and children
Yep.
to get out in our community and to do things together as a family. It's wonderful that we have, a list of activities, and I really encourage families in particular to really get out and do things with their family members.
And they're all outdoors. A lot of them are outdoors, so enjoy the great weather.
And they're all happening this year.
Yes, yes.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, yeah.
Staff liaisons report?
We have nothing to report at this time.
Okay.
Although I will say, when, in March, we will make sure that the nonprofits are invited to come do the presentation to council. March or February.
Then I would say our next meeting is item number J on the schedule, 22-050. The regularly scheduled commission meeting is the fourth Monday of each month at 5 p.m. in the City Council chambers located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard. So that was our one mishap from today. So that would be the 28th at 5 p.m., February 28th. Without Any other delay then? I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:40 PM.